Okay, 2 Timothy 2, somebody read 22 through 26.
Flee also youthful lust, but pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. But avoid foolish and ignorant disputes, knowing that they generate strife. And a servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but be gentle to all, able to teach, patient, in humility correcting those who are in opposition, if God perhaps will grant them repentance, so that they might know the truth, and that they may come to their senses and escape the snare of the devil, having been taken captive by him to do his will.
Alrighty. Charge number 6. Flee the lusts of the youth and pursue the Lord. I was did a little research on the passions of the lusts of the youth. Yeah. Got on the psychology page. Said there's 7 of them. And it kind of made sense. So, what are some of the desires or the passions of the youth? Of course, there's the obvious. But what else is there? How are we different when we're 74 years old than we were 16 or 18 or 20?
Video games.
Well, there's desires of the eye when we're young. We look at something and we want to have it. We envy it. Our neighbor gets a new car, and it's a Mustang. And I have always wanted a Mustang. So 2 Christmases ago, my wife gave me a Mustang that I had to put together. I guess you got tired of hearing about it. But, when I was younger, I really wanted a Mustang. I really wanted a $30,000 bass boat. Now I've got a 14-foot John boat, and it just does just fine. Get anywhere I want to go. Can't get there quite as quick as a $30 bass boat. I was on a ramp at Patoka Lake, taking my boat out, and there was 2 guys that had this big, beautiful, this custom bass boat came in, docked there. One of the guys ran out and running, got a truck, backed the truck down the ramp. The truck and the bass boat were identically painted. Custom job. The bass boat was like 3 different colors, and the truck was 3 different colors. So somebody else comes in, the 3rd boat comes in, and the guy got out and he knew the guy with the bass boat, and he walked over and he said, "Wow," he said, "that's quite a rig." The guy said, "Yeah." He said, "I love it." He said, "And what would a rig like that cost you?" Now this is back in the 80s. He said, "Well, it was a little over 100,000 and 2 marriages." Our lusts of the youth have complications sometimes. And if your bass boat is more important than your kid's shoes, then you got some issues there.
Yeah, I reckon.
And later on in life, you stop looking at those flashy things, and you start thinking about retirement and how am I going to eat when retirement comes along, and how am I going to have enough money to pay bills, and I need to get my mortgage paid off before the retirement comes, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to make a mortgage payment. And our priorities shift, and they become different. I remember when my kids were little, we'd just buy anything we wanted. And then all of a sudden it hit me, 6 years are going to college. And I got 10 cents in the savings account. So we started, we started shifting in a different direction. We started putting some money away and investing some money And the best way I found to do that is just have it leave your check before you get your check. And then don't think about it.
Never see it.
And it went into an investment account, and when it came time to spend all those thousands of dollars, we ended up, the kids ended up not having to pay any student loans. And it, you know, was like 9%, I took 9% out and had it put into this account. And if I didn't have it, I found out I didn't need it. But when you got it in your billfold, it just burns, doesn't it? Said, oh, yeah, I got it, I can do that. Yeah. That's desires of the eyes. You see things and you want those things, and you begin to plot to get those things. Desires of the flesh. And I guess maybe we don't have to go into that very deep. It's pretty obvious. But it also goes more than just sexual lust. Desires of the flesh could lead you to drugs, could lead you to alcoholism. Because why do we really do that stuff? Now, you know, I like there's some things I like a glass of wine with. They complement each other. So am I doing it because it fits with something else? Or it complements something else? Or am I doing it because of how I want to feel? How I want, or if I'm trying to escape? You know, I've asked several people who have recovered from drugs or trying to recover from drugs, why did you do that? And I'm guessing 9 out of 10 times the answer was the same. It wasn't really about the pleasure. What do you think they said 9 out of 10 times?
Escape.
Huh?
Escape.
Escape. Trying to get away from something. Trying to get away from their life, their divorce, their, sometimes it's the death of a child. And they use alcohol to try and do that, or they use drugs to try and do that. I will give people that I'm confident are addicted to it a bottle of wine every once in a while. But I will not give you one if you're going through a struggle. I won't do it. You need to get through that, and then I'll give you one and you can celebrate your victory. But I'm not going to give you a bottle of wine, because if I do and you deaden that pain and then the wine's gone, we just extended the misery, and I won't do it. Now, after it's over, if you want a bottle of blackberry wine, I got a whole bunch of it. Don't drink it that easy.
I think I need to know where you live.
Give it away.
That's my favorite.
But I have to know you, and I have to know that you don't have a problem with alcohol. I will not do it if there's even a hint you have a problem with alcohol. But if I'm confident that you don't, you can enjoy my wine on occasion. Not every day, but on occasion. It's a dare to be accepted. But he wants to be accepted. Remember high school? You wanted to be accepted? The meanest place you've ever been in your life, high school? Not maybe it's just me.
Not just
It's
you.
hateful.
What?
Not just you.
High school's
Do it
hateful,
again.
but it's even starting now in the junior high levels too. I mean, there's so much competition to be better than someone, or I believe this way, you need to believe this way too, and if you don't think that I'm right, and there's so much animosity. And I'm thinking about something that just happened at the Mitchell Junior High level this year. And it's just, I don't feel that the adults that took care of it were trained in the right way to take care of the issues. So there were so many hurt children. And they're gonna live with that hurt for the rest of their lives, because you know, you can't take a word away once once it's out there.
But
You're always gonna remember, you know, when, I will always remember, you know, the things Eric said to me. I don't believe them, well, maybe I do because I still think about them. But those kids are so young, and what those adults did when they didn't approach it the right direction, how is that going to determine their wanderlust, or, you know, their depression, or the I'm not worthy thing? And then that drug problem or that alcohol problem becomes more prevalent with them because they don't have that self-worth. And I think that that's,
I think it's also, then it's up to the parents to get them into something that makes them worth it. That's why I love the martial arts where I'm at. We don't teach the kids to be better than somebody else. We teach them to be better than they are and to improve on what they are doing. You know, you're not in competition with anybody else. You're in competition with yourself, to improve yourself, to make yourself better.
that's why I'm hoping that they really do bring in, and this is maybe off topic, archery. You don't have to be the best of the best of the best physically. You don't have to be the big football player to succeed at archery. And, you know, I mean, someone like me could go into archery and succeed and then feel confident, and that little bit of confidence gives you that boost so you don't do the wanderlust or the lust of flesh. You know, I mean, they're going to do it as kids, but we have to be there in order to direct them the right way and have the right teaching, the right book, you know, when you encounter that with them.
yeah, I kind of identify with most of it. We're probably one of the 5 poorest counties in Tuscarawas County, Ohio. One of the 5 poorest families. And 90% of the clothes I wore to school were worn out by my cousins before I got them. If I got a new pair of pants that were too big in this fall, had to roll them up, and then about Christmas they fit, and then about spring they were up to the top of my socks. And I was always ridiculed because we were poor. And I went back for my wife wanted to go back for my 25th high school. And I said, we don't want to do that. She said, no, you got this invitation, it's the 25th, we need to go back. So I went back. Now, when I left high school, I was 6'3" and weighed 135 pounds. When I went back, I was 6'3" and weighed 180 pounds. My mom wasn't cutting my hair anymore. I had new clothes on. I was postmaster of French Lake, Indiana. But, you know, for about an hour, they couldn't figure out who I was. Some of them thought I was the biology teacher. And so I was having a ball with that. Finally, my wife said, when are you going to tell them? I said, I'm not. I'm not telling them. So finally, she told one and said, I'm Janice Bitter, he's Bill Bitter. And the room got kind of quiet. And then it got mean. And we left and my wife was crying. High school, I will never see Newcomerstown again. I had lost nothing there, I left nothing there, I'm not gonna go back and try to find it. Not going back. I'd rather be right here in the basement than to be at my 50th high school graduation. I'm not going back. Another thing about the acceptance is, once we become confident in ourselves, when we get over that high school thing where we're you know, we're kind of, everything's kind of iffy and we're trying to blend in and be part of it. Well, now, I really don't care what you think. I'm right, I know I'm right, and it doesn't matter what you think. And sometimes I'm wrong, and I know I'm wrong, and God's dealing with me, and it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't. Because if I'm right, and my conscience is clear, and God's okay with me, nothing else matters. You ought to be okay with me, and I ought to be okay with you. We ought to give up all that mess of the youth and become adults at some point in time. Well, the class of 1964 in Newcomerstown, Ohio, never became adults as far as I'm concerned. They're still a bunch of little kids, and the rich ones are still the rich ones, and the poor ones are still the poor ones, and I'm not going back. But I'll come here every Sunday morning and feed you breakfast. This I love. Okay, the desire to achieve. Desire to achieve. What was your first effort to achieve? What did you want to be when you were in high school? Were you going to be a doctor or a fireman or an engineer?
Archaeologist.
A hippie?
Archaeologist. I wanted to be an archaeologist.
An archaeologist. Okay.
Vet assistant.
Hmm?
Vet assistant.
Okay. Well, you're still young. You can still pull that.
Technically, I have it, but
I wanted to be an art therapist. Actually, the first thing I wanted to do was be a prison psychologist, and then I wanted to be an art therapist.
Art.
Art therapy.
Okay. All right. Mason, I'm really interested in what yours is.
What I wanted to be?
Yeah, I figured professor.
Yeah, I thought I wanted to be an English professor.
Go back and do it.
Shoot, man, I'm paying off enough student loans.
You've got the majority of it.
You can get grants though, I'm telling you, you can get those grants. Do it. We need good English professors.
Anybody else?
Detective. A detective.
Oh, I can see you with your little spyglass.
No, I can see her doing good cop, bad cop.
I
By
go
yourself,
for it all the
by
time. I'm a nurse, close enough.
And I was gonna be a doctor. Straight A's, 3 men. Everything was headed right on track. And then God had other plans. So I'm teaching Sunday school in the basement. And I think I'm a lot happier than if I'd have been a doctor.
But see, you help to heal the soul.
I'm sorry?
You help to heal the soul, the person within. So, I mean, in a way, you are that physician.
In a way, it is medicine. It is corrective.
And sometimes that healing of the soul is a lot better than that boo-boo on your finger.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things in our medical community that are caused by things that are not really physical, things that are mental, worry, stress, not being able to deal with this, that, and the other. There's a Jewish doctor wrote a book, None of These Diseases, the name of it was None of These Diseases. And he went through the Old Testament, and he was talking about the diseases of his day, and it was probably back in the 80s, 1980, when I got this book and reading it. He talked about how many of his patients had stroke, and it wasn't really related to anything physical, it was related to stress. And to, it tightened up everything in their body tightened up, and their blood pressure increased, and finally they blew out a vein, or they blew out an artery, or brain, and he said that he actually made a statement that over 80% of all of our problems could be fixed by the Old Testament. If you read through Proverbs, and it talks about stress and not being stressful and not worried about tomorrow and all those things, and he cited scripture all the way through. And he said every time I got in somebody to accept that and start relaxing and going a different direction, or stop worrying, or stop doing whatever, he said their health just exploded. He said everything changed. And there wasn't anything physical about it. It wasn't about their heart had a bad valve or they had a virus. It was just about their attitude and their mental health. And once he was able to get them to buy into that, you could just watch them get healthy. It was an interesting book, and I enjoyed it. He covered, it was a big book. It was probably 300 pages. And he went through different medical things that he had to deal with people. Now, sometimes you have a cancer and it has to be removed. Sometimes there's a growth and it's abnormal, it's not supposed to be there, and you have to fix it. But he said 80% of everything he dealt with could be fixed by attitude. So, I kind of bought into it.
Our mamaw had a stroke in 2004, Jessica's mine, and she, I mean, it was a miracle she lived. She had a huge, just like no one I know now, she was really bad. She should have, by all medical things, should have died. She has, at the very least, she should have not been able to function. She's lived on her own for almost 20 years. And I mean, she cleans her house. She's getting a little more feeble now that she's 80 years old. But I mean, she cleans her house, but her therapists were amazed during her recovery because she had a determination and wanted to work for it. And I see that a lot. People they could improve so much after events like that, and they don't have the drive to do it, to achieve it. And it's really interesting to see, like, you know, when your focus is in the right spot,
Yeah.
how well you can do after something like that.
And you see it from a medical standpoint, and so it kind of verifies what that author, the Jewish doctor, said. Desire for recognition. We want people to not just physical recognition, but our accomplishments. We want people to recognize our accomplishments. I remember when I was in high school, I liked to draw things. So I drew a horse one day in the barn, and then I had to go do something else, and I came back, and somebody had put a little pile behind my horse. Somebody made a little pile of horse biscuits behind my horse there. And everybody started laughing at me, so I tore it up. And I decided I'd never draw anything again. And then, when I was 35, I used to watch this guy on TV called Bob
Ross.
Happy little tree right here.
Used to watch him. Every Saturday, I would stop what I was doing, no matter what I was doing. At 11 o'clock, I'd go in the house. I'd watch Bob Ross for half an hour. And finally, Bob Ross's son was at Ball State University. And for $25, you could show up. He'd give you a canvas. He'd give you all the paints, and you could paint. And my wife bought me that for my birthday. And you know, I still was hesitant. I still didn't want to do it because of how I felt when I was in the 7th grade and got laughed at. I was still damaged by that. And I went in and you know, they kept pushing me and okay, I'll go. So I went and I painted my first oil painting, and I'll bring it sometime, show it to you. And then I kind of got back into it, and my whole house is filled with landscapes that I did. I'd go to Wyoming, I'd see something, I'd kind of sketch it a little bit, come home, do a painting about this mountain or that creek going through this valley and whatever. And I love to do it. But you know, from the time I was in the 7th grade to the time I was 35, I missed out on all those years when I was younger and probably could have done it better. Because I let that moment in the 7th grade rule my life. And I gave up something that now I love to do. But for those years between the 7th grade and when I was 35, I missed out on so much because I let that pain rule my life. Don't do that. Don't live in the past and don't let the pain of the past rule your life. Because God said, Jesus said, live for today. Do not worry about what happened yesterday, and you can't fix tomorrow anyway, so just get through today. And I'm here to tell you that is good advice. Desire or tendency to act quickly and impulsively. You know, it's that, well, let's get it done. And it looks terrible when you finish. You know, we just put up the play set at Shepherd's Bethel, and that dude was complicated. So we're going to set the first floor post, and we're going to get them set. Well, it's kind of like this. Have you ever tried to get 4 posts plumb at exactly the same distance apart and square? Well, it just doesn't work. And so finally I said, and most of the guys that were helping were younger, and I said, hey fellas, I said, if we get 1 post right, we could work off the 1 post. Then we could hook up the second screw and get the distance for the second one. So we got 1 post in the ground, we got concrete in there, but we started doing something else until the concrete set up and the post got solid, and then it went quick. I mean, we said 18 posts, and every one of them was connected to another post, and every one of them had to be exactly right, or the bolts wouldn't have gone in. They'd have been a different angle, they'd have been a different height. You know, in the beginning, it's let's set up a playground and get it over with. But now I'm 74 years old, and well, let's get 1 post right, and then we can build off that, kind of like the cornerstone thing. And I got pictures of it wherever my phone is.
I got it.
You got it?
I got it.
But it's a beautiful place, that. But it was complicated. And while we were trying to do too much at once, nothing was fitting. But if we stopped and just got 1 post right, and then went to the second post, went to the third post, went to the 4th post, those 18 posts look like little soldiers standing on a laser beam, and they're just as straight as they can be. But when we were trying to do 4 at once, it was a total loser. Total loss. All right, number 7, desire to be creative. Desire to be creative.
Desire to be what?
Creative. To create something, to make something.
That's really hard for young people because they don't want the ridicule from their buddy if it doesn't look. It's kind of like what you went through. When I teach art, and you can be creative in literature, creative writing, whatever. Most kids, young people, are afraid to dig deep and pull out that creativeness because they don't want to be laughed at, or they don't want to have that critical comments given to them about something. So they just as soon keep it inside instead of throw it out and express it.
Yeah, I agree with that. You're totally right. There's another aspect I thought of. Kids today are kind of raising themselves.
Most of them
They don't have grandma and grandpa. They don't. You know, when I go to Indianapolis, my 4 grandkids just tag around me like puppies. And if I'm doing something, it's like, this would be a lot faster if I didn't have any help, but yeah, here's a hammer and I'll fix it when you're done, you know? They wanna be there, you can see it in them, they wanna build something, they wanna try something. Now, they all four tried fishing and three of them like it, and then there's nothing wrong with that. That fourth one likes to be artistic, she likes to draw, she likes to, and she's only 6 years old, just turned 6.
That's where we as the adults, for those kids, being a teacher and seeing so many kids raising younger, they're raising their siblings. They're helping bring them up. That's where we as the adult, other than someone that's a family member, needs to step in and bring that to them, you know.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, that's fine.
I said, we as adults need to teach, but we also need to have the patience to teach. And that's where a lot of people are lacking, is the patience. They don't have the patience to go from point A to point B. They want point B without going the steps right up to it.
And you gotta give them that unconditional love. Now, in my room, if they're hungry, they know they can go to my bottom left drawer and get a snack. I have snacks in there every day for kids that don't have breakfast. They can't eat what's for lunch, but they know that, and I have microwaves in my room so they can come in and heat their lunch up if they want it. You know, they started calling me Mama. That's what's on my, I mean, that's literally what is on my door is Mama Mason.
They want that encouragement. They want that you telling them, hey, that's a good job,
Right.
but you know, hey, why don't we try this? Maybe this will work better. And they don't
They
have
want that
it.
acceptance for who they are.
Yeah.
This is who I am, this is what I can accomplish, can you help me get to this point? And that's my job as my desire as a teacher, to help that young person that's struggling, to show them that kindness and that love, but also stick to my rules. We can't go over the rules, but if they need a hug, they've got a hug. If they need 20 minutes to come into my room during my prep time to pour out their heart, they have that, you know? And that's where we as adults need to show these young people that compassion. This is you. You can be more than this. Just let's creep out of that shell a little bit at a time. And it's a hard thing in today's world in the high school.
And one thing that's very important in all that is that we let them be individuals.
You have to be individuals.
I'd love for them all to go fishing with me, but they don't all like to fish. Abby she wants to cook with me every time I cook something, and every time I go up there, I'm the cook. They like for me to come up because my daughter doesn't have to cook with them. Reed, on the other hand, he likes crafty things. He likes to work with wood. He likes to just drive nails and stuff. Liza she likes literature. She likes for me to read to her. And now she's writing her own books. She's 6 years old. She's writing her own books, and they're just like 5 pages, and she illustrates them too. And she makes up these stories about the bears. And Winnie, she's the youngest one, and she likes to play checkers and chess and do all kinds of stuff like that. And she's really not, you know that box that says 7 and up? Well, she's 5 and doing the 7 and up stuff. But, you know, sometimes when I'm with Winnie, and we might play checkers. When I'm with Reed, we're out sawing wood and cutting down trees, trimming the shrubbery, whatever. Every one of them's totally different. But I think sometimes our tendency is to make them like us. And that's a mistake. I have to be like them.
You have
in
to-
order to encourage them in whatever they're doing.
I was just gonna say, you have to encourage the kids to try something different, because the one thing may not be what they want, but, you know, encourage them to stick with it and see whether they like it or not. Not just try it and say, well, I don't like it. You need to stick with it for a little bit. If you don't like it, then you switch. You don't just, and I think that's the problem. Kids switch too many times before they find out whether they actually like something. They want it easy, and, you know, you gotta teach them that things aren't gonna be easy in life either. You need to stick with things to find out whether you like them.
Well, I thought we'd get through chapter 2. I guess we will. We'll finish this up next week and start chapter 3. Now, 3 and 4 are gonna go quick, because he's just saying goodbye, making some parting comments, and so acknowledging some people. So I need to know what we're gonna do next, and, what's that list you got in the back there?
The one we mentioned last week was the gifts, the 35 gifts of the Holy Spirit.
Say what?
The one we talked about last week was the 35 gifts of the Holy Spirit.
Oh, 35 gifts. We could do a topic like, what are the 35 gifts of the Holy Spirit? We could pick another book and go with that. Now, I don't like to do topics, on a continual basis.
Well, I'm free.
Because we tend to pick the things we like and don't deal with the things we don't like. So if we take a book and go through it, we're gonna run into the things we don't like, and we're gonna have to deal with them. But I don't mind doing topics on occasion and, looking at different aspects of things. Bye.